Plumbers with Leaky Taps, Why Aren't Not-for-Profits Leading the Way in Digital Accessibility by Jody Martin. 10 Years of Alibytes 2022.
Did you know that only 3% of organisations meet digital accessibility standards across all of their digital content and services? What's perhaps even more surprising is that non-profits, along with public sector organisations, sit at the bottom of digital accessibility rankings. These are organisations which traditionally serve the community, so why are they potentially excluding people with disability and other digital access needs from engaging with their mission? Why aren't they leading the way in digital accessibility? My name is Jody Martin, and I'm Technology and Access Manager at Guide Dogs. At Guide Dogs, we're on a journey to improve our own digital accessibility and have many years' experience helping other organisations to do the same. Today, I'm going to talk about digital accessibility benefits, barriers and solutions specific to the non-profit sector and give you some actions to get started with from today. Before I start the presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Camaragal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I sit today. I would also like to pay respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, both past and present. Today, I'm talking to you from my home office, and I'm also showing slides throughout the presentation. There are some slides with decorative images used on them of guide dogs or people using technology, and I will cover all written content on the slides verbally. By the end of the presentation, I hope you have a better understanding of the importance of digital accessibility and of some of the unique barriers to digital accessibility faced by non-profits. I'll also introduce you to Guide Dogs' Access approach to help you identify your next steps to doing digital accessibility better in your organisation. I'm going to start with a quick definition of digital accessibility in the context of this presentation. Digital accessibility is the process of making the digital experience accessible to everyone, which might include websites, apps, digital content, or systems. While Guide Dogs specialise in digital accessibility for people who are blind or have low vision, digital accessibility done well means that people can access your content, whatever their hardware, software, or language, including people with a diverse range of abilities across hearing, movement, vision, and cognition. So why is digital accessibility important? Doing it well will benefit your reach and your reputation, two areas which are critical for every non-profit I've worked with. Firstly, it broadens your audience and increases your impact by making your content and services available to the 20% of people who have digital access needs, while also making it easier for other users to interact with your content. That's 20% more potential clients, donors, staff, or other stakeholders who can now access and engage with your mission. The second benefit is reputation. In many countries, providing accessible digital content is a legal requirement. More than that, community and funder expectations on inclusion and accessibility are shifting, especially on those organisations serving vulnerable communities. Building competence with digital accessibility adds value to your organisation for funders, grants, and your overall reputation. Digital accessibility is so important for non-profits. Why aren't we doing it better? We all get it wrong at some point, and there are lots of reasons that inaccessible digital content or services might be launched. For non-profits, these tend to fall into three categories: awareness, perceived cost, and skill. Lack of awareness of the importance and benefits of digital accessibility can be a huge barrier. Some non-profits can also fall into the trap of considering accessibility only for the issue or population that they're serving. For example, an organisation working with people with intellectual disability may be great with cognitive access, but not have considered other access needs of clients, staff, and donors. You've already started addressing this barrier just by listening to this presentation today. Secondly, non-profits tend to operate on tight budgets. Uniquely in this sector, reliance on donations or external funders can introduce significant downward pressure on anything which is seen as an administration cost, which can include digital accessibility efforts. Finally, creating accessible digital content and platforms is a skill, one which can be difficult for non-profits to access in an environment which relies on volunteers, short-term staff, and external contractors. Permanent staff tend to wear many hats with limited access to training budgets, and there is generally no specific digital accessibility role. So, in the face of these barriers, what can you do to improve digital accessibility in a way that doesn't need lots of money, lots of new staff, while still meeting your stakeholder expectations? It can definitely be done, and it looks different for each organisation. Guide Dogs have developed a 4-step approach to assessing and improving accessibility, including awareness, commitment, competency, and supportive systems. Now, very conveniently, these steps form the acronym ACCESS, which also makes it easier to remember. I'll take you through each step and how to do it in the non-profit context. The first step is awareness, which we've already touched on. This is about acknowledging and understanding the problem in the context of your organisation. Go to the source of truth, your stakeholders. Make sure to ask everyone, clients, staff, donors, partners. You probably already have established pathways to have a two-way dialogue with these people. There doesn't need to be an additional cost. Use these existing pathways to ask them how they interact with your digital collateral, what their access needs are, and where any barriers may be. Don't rely on passive feedback systems. Most people will simply abandon an interaction if they experience access barriers, and less than 10% of them will tell you about it. You need to ask. It may feel like you're opening the gates to a flood of negative feedback, but remember, the problems were already there. Now you're taking the steps to acknowledge and address them. Once you know about any barriers, the next step is to make your organisation aware. You might not have a dedicated accessibility role, but just by being here today, you have become an accessibility champion for your organisation. Once there is awareness, it's important to make a commitment to improving digital accessibility at the organisation level. Lasting change will come from ownership by leaders, including executive and board, buy-in from all levels of the organisation, and a clear commitment which you can track progress against in years to come. This looks different at every organisation, but it may look like an accessibility commitment in your strategy or business plan, an accessibility statement on your website. Whatever it is, start small, make sure it's clear and specific, and keep talking about it, both internally and externally. What you are committing to should be informed by feedback from your stakeholders and can be supplemented by self-assessment using free online resources, some of which are listed at the end of this presentation. A good place to start could be making your social media and other online content accessible before moving on to more complex systems and processes. With a target in place, it's time to focus on improving accessibility for your users. Start investing time into activities which will build your competency to create accessible digital collateral. This may take the form of training, developing resources, or accessing external resources that are already available. Accessibility is everyone's responsibility, so make sure you're building capacity across the whole organisation. You likely already have people in your organisation with digital accessibility skills. Find them and use them. At Guide Dogs, we couldn't find a single resource which covered all the things we wanted to know about digital accessibility for people who are blind or have low vision, so we made one ourselves for staff and our external partners, including e-learning modules and other resources. I provided contact information at the end of this presentation if you want to learn more about our resources and tools. The final area to address is support systems to ensure that doing the right thing with digital accessibility is also the easy thing. Accessibility should be embedded as a step in existing systems and processes so it becomes part of BAU. Some areas to target include content policies, procurement processes, stakeholder engagement, induction programs, and monitoring and evaluation systems. Using the access cycle is a supportive system in itself and is a great way to make sure you're continually improving your approach to digital accessibility. In summary, non-profits can improve their digital accessibility at low cost and using existing resources while meeting funder and stakeholder expectations. A slow and gentle approach will make big sustainable changes over time. To recap, the steps that we suggest are understanding your problem, committing to a plan, building competency across your organisation, making accessibility part of your BAU, and then continuing to test, learn, and make changes in response to feedback from your stakeholders, starting the cycle again. I hope this presentation has inspired you to start making some small changes to improving digital accessibility, particularly if you're a non-profit or other business working on important social or environmental issues or serving vulnerable communities. Inclusion matters, and it makes a big difference to your organisational impact and the lives of your stakeholders. I've included links to some valuable resources, including the slides from today, which can be found at tinyurl.com/GDA11Y. I've also included links to the ClickAway Pound and Infosys reports on the current state of digital accessibility, and the links to Western Sydney University and the World Wide Web Consortium's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines are a good place to start with tips on getting you started. The resources from Australian Network on Disability and Fable have some great self-assessment tools that you can use. And finally, you can reach out to me at access@guidedogs.com.au if you'd like to continue the conversation on digital accessibility. Thank you.
Celebrating 10 years, Ali Bites 2022.